and say this was a great conspiracy to conceal from the world that they had the solution to carbon emissions is so laughable.
An internal report from an oil company kept under wraps for almost 30 years. It says curbing emissions can be done with about a $95 per ton carbon tax. The Calgary-based company commissioned the study. But it may not be the damning report that some are making it out to be, according to some industry experts who say these studies were widely shared with governments and policymakers.
It was perfectly sensible at the time for companies such as Imperial Oil to engage, econometric consultancies, and there were a few around Canada at the time, to get out their models and to see what would happen if you added something to the prices of fossil fuels.
The research was done for Imperial Oil, a subsidiary of Exxon, in 1991, looking at the economic impact of reducing CO2 emissions through carbon and gas guzzler taxes. Another expert points to table discussions with the energy industry in 1997, started by the Canadian government as part of the Kyoto Agreement.
Each of them wrote huge reports about what the cost was to reduce greenhouse gas emissions within their sector, and they talked about what they could do. Every one of them talked about, the cost. It was dollars per ton of CO2. And it talked about, what could be done at that time.
Scores of Imperial Oil documents are stored in the Glenbow Museum files at the University of Calgary. An organization called Climate Investigations has been digging through the public archives and republishing reports. It says their evidence the company was trying to intervene and undermine the Canadian government and stop measures that would impact the company economically, while appearing to be a thoughtful participant in the dialogue around climate change. Imperial Oil did not comment, but pointed City News to its website. Its position on climate change states it requires collaboration among governments, companies, consumers, and other stakeholders to create meaningful solutions. Imperial engages with a broad range of stakeholders directly and through trade associations to encourage sound policy.
The policy question is, what do governments have to do to force that kind of doubling up on energy efficiency deployment in the economy? Those are difficult policy issues.
In Calgary, Crystal Adaris, City News.